Alrighty, folks, it is 10:45 here on the East Coast on this wonderful Wednesday evening. Welcome to Twitch Line. I am your host, Hodo, joined as always with my best friend and longtime, longtime friend, roommate. What else have you been, Tim?
Confidant.
Confidant, travel buddy.
Midnight.
Yeah.
Midnight fast food store runner.
Yeah, midnight fast food store runner, midnight diner going. So it's Acorn. How you doing?
Doing well, man. We've been out of it recently. We have not been on here much. I had a couple of friends in town to visit, and not just local friends, or even semi-local. One of them traveled 14 hours by plane from China to visit me, and the other one came in from Canada, about 2-hour flight, but that's as close as you can be in Canada. Yeah.
Exactly, but he's been a worldly fellow, so therefore he has friends around the world who love him dearly and will be willing to fly 14 hours to visit him. So we make some time for people who do that, especially after a long trip, extreme jet lag, and all that stuff. So excuse our absence, but we are back on our regular schedule, and hopefully we will be bringing you some wonderful content that you'll be tuning in to watch. In the meantime, let us update you as to what our socials are so you can find a way to contact us. You can contact us here at twitchlinelove@gmail.com if you have any questions, concerns, things you want us to read on the air, articles you want to send us, anything you feel like that you want to email us. You can also do it the fast way via Twitter, and you can tweet us at Twitchline, and you can do the same thing, and it's just a click on the phone away, and you can get us here on Twitter. As always, also, we co-stream onto YouTube, so you can also go to YouTube, type in Twitchline Love, and you will find our channel. Hit the subscribe button on YouTube so you know when we'll go on air, and it is also acts as a repository for older shows, so you can see some older content that we have done and reference some older issues, problems, topics that we have discussed, all on YouTube, saved for posterity. And as if you want to listen to us on the go, you can listen to us on SoundCloud. Yes, you can take us on the go on your phone, mobile device, anything that is portable. Just type in Twitchline Love on SoundCloud, and you will find our channel, and you can listen to our shows that way. So, as always, welcome to Twitchline, everyone. We have been away, so it is one of those things in which we are trying to get back into the swing of things, and hopefully we will have a great show for you this evening. Lots of great topics this evening, and it's one of those things in which when you've been after a long layoff, you're trying to find your feet again, and hopefully we found some topics here that will entertain everybody here, and maybe find something interesting with regards to what we're going to be talking about today.
Yeah, we have a little bit of diversity here, from what are strong issues, internal issues, to relationship, just your standard relationship issues, to issues that could only happen in the last few years with the internet in its present state. So we'll get to it. But just to get started on our first topic here, the topic is scared that they'll find out the real me. And it is a Redditor from the r/dating subreddit. The Redditor is Parmenides. Parmenides, the ancient Greek philosopher who kind of came up with the ideas of metaphysics. So, Parmenides, please. I guess that's what we're going with. It's tagged as event, so we'll see. But she's a 20-year-old female, and she said, "I've just always been a hookup for guys. I always feel like I'm asking too much by even showing affection. I'm scared to show affection. I'm scared to show people that I like them because I'm so scared of being rejected. And I perfectly know why. I've never been in a relationship. I cut things off when they start getting more serious. When a guy shows he likes me, I find reasons to stop talking to him. I've used sex as a placeholder for emotional intimacy. I have cut off every potential relationship for reasons I entirely made up. I do not want whoever I date to find out the real me. They'll find out that I actually have no friends and that I never did, that I was a loner in high school and a loner now. They'll find out that I have no interests, no hobbies. They'll find out that I have severe depression and that I don't know how to cope with it. They'll find out how I'm extremely insecure and anxious. They'll find out the real me, the weird me that I tried to hide from everyone, the real me that I'm ashamed of, the real me that comes out once I'm alone, away from people, and in my room. So, heavy thought processes here.
Mm-hmm.
And, it reads as fairly self destructive. So, I guess we'll just kind of break it down and see what we come up with. So she's 20-year-old female, so she's sort of young in the game here. She's referred to herself as always having been a hookup. I don't know how long she's been sexually active or hooking up, but if she admits that she hasn't had relationships and everything that she has had has just been sort of a short-term, maybe sexually based thing,
Mm-hmm.
then she may have some young ideas or immature ideas about what a relationship is supposed to look like. And coming from her background, she didn't give much about her background, but you get a sense that um, she has a lot of negative thoughts about herself. So you can imagine that that plays into how she goes about connecting to other people, and in this case, guys. Um, One thing that jumped out at me really early on was the how she said she feels like she's asking too much for showing affection. Now, a lot of people out there will feel like they're putting something on someone
Mm-hmm.
by asking for attention, asking for affection. In this case, she feels bad for showing affection. So it's almost like she expects the person that she's with to to be unwanting of her affection and attention, and that somehow that you know she doesn't have value to for them to appreciate her affection. So there are some major issues of self-worth from
Mm-hmm.
our redditor here, and she has a fear of rejection, so she cuts things off before they get serious. I've heard of this a lot on Reddit and other dating forums where people, I mean, they effectively, to avoid rejection, will self-destruct. If you can imagine, like a child playing with building blocks, and they know that another child's going to knock them over, or at least there's the possibility of that. So rather than let that other child dash their little block tower, they knock it down themselves. Hey, nobody hurt me because I did it myself. So in the same way, they are protecting themselves by hurting themselves first. And it's a pretty common way of dealing with rejection avoidance. I think what's also interesting about this young lady is that she's fully aware of her behaviors and the way that they get in the way of uh, her relationship and love life, but she actually still actively engages in them. So she pointed out point by point all the things that are problems for her, but yet lives into it and creates this sort of cycle where she's just having hookups and not actually making real connections. Uh, any thoughts so far, Z?
Yeah, I mean, like you've pointed out a lot of the main points. In this particular case, I think also vulnerability is something that she does not want to feel. Showing affection and things like using sex as a placeholder. It gives her a sense of power, you know? Like, sex is a weapon in a way that she can lord over people and is her way of being forward. Now, the whole emotional intimacy thing, not being scared to show affection, scared to show people who she really is. I'm a boring person. For the last 3 weeks, all I've been doing is playing World of Warcraft. That is terrible when you really think about it. But the thing about it is I'm unlike her. I'm not scared of telling people, yeah, I've had no life for 3 weeks, or I'm a really boring person and I don't really like certain things and I don't really go out very much. To her, though, it almost puts her in a situation where she would be putting herself out there, and the risk of being judged is too much for her to handle. And therefore she finds ways to avoid that scenario, and that is not necessarily very healthy. You do need to face up to who you are, and the thing about it is that she knows who she is, but to be accepting of who you are and not care of what other people think of you is very important, because you're able to then go forward in your own life to be able to move and possibly even better yourself. But if you can't get over that hump, it's a very big problem. And
Yeah, I think it's
mm,
interesting that you said that she knows who she is, and I think she feels that she does know who she is, but I also have a sense that she's really hypercritical of that, of who she is, and
mm,
that perhaps who she is isn't some of the bad things that she tells herself. And so I thought it might be interesting to kind of consider how she defines herself, and that way
mm,
we can kind of understand where why she's so fearful of anyone actually seeing her for who she is, right?
mm-hmm.
So like when she said, "I have no friends, I'm a loner," then does that mean that if she's not loved or pursued by others, then there's no reason for you to want to be with her? Like
No, I
that?
mean, like there are a lot of people who are quote loners. Friend, she might be even defining friendship a little weird, right? Like, friendship isn't necessarily you have somebody that you can lean on and talk to forever. Uh, Friendship can be very superficial. There are levels of friendship that people have, some of which don't really scratch the surface very not like not really deep friendships, more like acquaintances. But I mean, could that play also in her sort of view of herself? Because she feels like there is no deep connection to another human being that is stereotypical of a friendship, that she then considers
Yeah,
herself a loner that way.
I think a lot of people will um, base their value on depending on your what you value yourself. You'll base your value on that. So I know that's very general and not very helpful, but in this particular case, someone who is desiring of friends and connections might say that is a valuable thing. And because that is value and I don't have that, I have no value.
Mm,
And so her desire to have a deeper connection and to be in a real relationship is probably negatively influenced by the fact that she has no experience of that in the past. And then having no experience of that in the past, in her mind, says, okay, well, in the present state and going forward, someone will look at me and see I don't have these things. I'm not someone who is desired and sought after. So maybe, random person, you shouldn't either. It's negative thinking.
mm,
And it is the kind of thing that can work in a cyclical way, where if you don't expect people to like you, you may actually come across as uh, distant or in a way that like seeming like you don't want to make those connections. So I'd warn her against that. Uh, the next one, she was saying how she didn't have any interest in hobbies, which effectively is saying I think I'm a boring person. And so then I would glean from that that maybe she feels like her purpose is to entertain someone else or to provide them some sort of like to come like bring something along with her into the relationship
yeah.
that would be interesting to them, um, and that if she doesn't have those items on her checklist, that she's somehow not worth knowing. So again, that's in the same way, it's very self-destructive. um, And if you're generally, if you're a person that's made it to 20 years old, you have found ways to pass your time. So you have to be interested in, you have to have done something. You didn't sit in like a white room and just stare at the wall for 20 years. You've existed. So you may not have the hobbies and interests that are the most popular ones out there right now, but it doesn't mean that there's not something for you and
Hmm.
something that someone else might share with you.
Exactly right. I mean, it's
Um,
one of those things in which hobbies are not unique to what you see on Tinder and all sorts of other dating sites and all sorts of other things. Not everybody goes traveling. Not everybody goes to exotic places. Not everybody does that. Sometimes the most mundane things are what people find interesting. Um, I have friends in a tabletop gaming weekly meeting. So they play board games every week with a group of people that they've met. That could be, quote, considered boring, but they find it very fun. Knitting clubs, quilting clubs, things that a lot of
hey,
people.
dude, knitting and quilting clubs,
They
I'm sure they
exist.
exist,
They do
but like
exist. I know they
this,
exist
the
because
thing
I.
is, you don't have to have a sort of fringe interest. Like she could have very normal interests and just feel like nobody's interested in that.
Those are extreme
Yeah,
examples, I
yeah,
understand, but I know they exist because I have friends in those things. So,
sure.
like, yeah,
And that,
so
but and I mean, I guess that's as an example or as a set of examples
mhm.
that should indicate that there is something out there for
every
everyone,
that's correct.
and
Yeah, there's a wide
it's
variety
not
of
always available
interests.
to you depending on where you live, but at the same time, people, we are not so different, and that gets to another point that I'm going to come to later, that she thinks that she's a weirdo and she's so uniquely flawed or something, which just is very unlikely to be true. She probably just has poor self-image and feels alone and has justified that aloneness by saying that she's not worth knowing. It doesn't. I'm sure it doesn't help. She's says she has severe depression. I don't know if that's been diagnosed, but whichever way, she has a sense that her mental health is some yet another reason to avoid her, and that she might have less value because she hasn't figured out how to deal with that. So all of these things together all compound to be the kind of thing that can completely immobilize. Right? She probably can't see a way forward to get what she wants because of this series of not series, it's this overall self concept, and not being like other people does not make you unworthy of love. So she has to turn off this voice inside her head that's telling her these things. And people are their own worst critics, right? So
Hmm.
she has to give herself the opportunity for something, anything different than what she has right now, because where she is right now, there's no growth, there's no way forward if you're locked in that mindset. And she needs to give herself a chance to prove herself wrong and give other people the chance to show her that they don't see her in that really negative way. uh, Z, have you ever had thoughts and feelings like this? Like, have you ever felt unworthy, or that you were in a place in your life or a situation where you just weren't supposed to be connected?
Mm.
It's okay if you say no. I just wonder
No,
if you.
the thing about it is like I usually associate like these thoughts after a very depressing time in my life. Breakups. Sometimes it's like when a relationship doesn't go right, then I have a tendency to start overthinking like, what did I do wrong? Is it me? Am I just not good enough? Things like that. Overall, though, myself, I don't think I've ever thought myself as someone being not good enough for anything. Though I understand if I am not attractive to other people. If you understand what that means. I mean, like, you know, I don't try very hard. It's not like I go out there and do and put myself out there on a regular basis, but it's one of those things in which I think I'm okay with my own personal self worth. It is one of those things, though. It is different for females out there because self esteem is one of those things that uh, people women especially struggle with, and it is one of those things in which building up the confidence of a young woman is very, very important. You see that emphasis today in today's youth culture. You want to empower as many people, as many women as you can, because you do not want them feeling the way that Parmenius feels right now. Because going into everybody has value, and in this particular case, she is putting her own value very, very low. Now we're trying to dig in and try to figure out like what the reason for that is, but just based on the surface, it is that she's just having very many issues like dealing with it. So and that
Yeah.
could be just how uh, it could have been just something that could have happened early in her youth where she was that somebody might have put her down or a parent or something like that might have done. This is all speculation, so we really don't know. But, kids can be cruel also. Teasing when young, if not addressed, can lead to um, self value issues, especially if a lot of other kids are saying, oh, you're ugly, oh, you're fat, oh, you're this, and there's nobody to reinforce the positive parts of yourself or making sure that they understand that they really are just teasing you and it's not they don't mean it, and it can create complexes and value issues.
Yeah. Uh, all true. Um, what I think is something also to consider when she thinks about her value. Like she obviously has been able to hook up with people, so like she, it takes something, a certain amount of something, to be able to get there.
Mm-hmm.
Generally, you don't hook up with someone and or multiple someones unless you've got some ability to connect with them or to be interesting or to be attractive or to whatever it is that got there. Then she at that point didn't let it go further because of a fear that they wouldn't want who she really is beyond just sex.
Mm.
So yeah, so whatever it is it's an internal block, and it is probably related to confidence in a way. But at the same time, if you're landing hookups, then you've got some level of confidence that you can work with there. So hopefully, what she can do is uh, kind of pull apart some of these things that scare her
Mm-hmm.
and open up a space where she can allow just a friendship, just to like babysit kind of situation where she can let in a little bit, take her walls down just enough to let someone see a little bit of who she is. And when she sees it, they don't immediately shut her down over that and run away screaming. She will gain some kind of confidence. And I think, I mean, we really don't know this person personally, so we can't say what her uniqueness and weirdness really is, but I'm going to assume that she's just a person that has gotten used to being on her own
Mm-hmm.
and has sort of filled in the blanks with that, meaning that maybe it's hard to know her. So, you know, that's it, man. I think the solution to this is exposure.
Yeah.
Just
Mm-hmm.
put yourself out there, make some kind of connections, and don't let don't let yourself get in the way of it. Don't cut things off early. Don't shoot chances before they have a chance to become something.
Yeah. I
Any
think I
final
think you're
comments on
absolutely
that?
right. Yeah. So, baby steps. Maybe she has to be able to start slow and get out there. and but that first step can be very, very hard. So maybe seek some help with regarding to getting out there, and then slowly but surely, I think things get better. So, all
Cool.
right.
Well, you
Uh,
want to run us into number two?
yeah. So second topic is I think this is more a little bit uh someone's a little jaded here, and I don't know if I'm even using the term jaded right, but I think it's about angry with regards to what ended up happening to someone that they were dating. So the topic for number two is guy who didn't know what he wanted is getting engaged. Now this well, we'll read it, so you can make your own assumptions. But here we go. This is from In Circles Day. Am I reading that right? I think that's right. In Circles Day. We dated for 9 months, and I ended it because he was messing me about and said he didn't know what he wanted and he was bad at developing relationships. I told him that when he met someone he liked, he would know. Anyways, we stayed friends, which probably was a mistake because I liked him a lot. And he recently told me he met someone and he thinks he's going to marry her. Less than a year after I broke it off. I'm happy for him, but it also hurts so much. Less than a year and he's just walked into a great relationship for him, despite telling me he's a commitment phobe. And I'm still stuck on the dating carousel of despair. I'm not religious, but I feel like God is punishing me. I feel so deeply unlovable, like I will never find my person. How do you stay positive? This is difficult, especially considering that you do still have latent feelings for this person in Circle's Day. This is also one of those things in which you cannot look at somebody else's happiness, even though this person was with you, but you were the one that made the conscious decision to end this relationship. So he ended up going out, finding someone that he liked, and maybe it completely changed his outlook as to what being in a relationship was all about. That happens. And it's not your fault either. It could have been that you just were not the right person for this person. And it's not your fault in a way. It could be that you just didn't click emotionally, sexually. Who knows what could it have been? And he was just unwilling to commit to you specifically. But what you can't do is take a look at that, have him find somebody else that he's willing to get married, and then be angry about that. What you need to take a look, what you need to do, at least in my personal opinion, is be able to move on, be happy for him, and say, you know what, that's going to happen to me too, and stay positive. It is going to be difficult, at least initially, now that you found out that he is going to end up marrying this particular person. But the struggle continues, and you just have to keep going forward. Once you start getting into a rut and start looking at yourself in a depressive manner and saying that, this could be me, you start going down a path that I don't think is very healthy. And it is one of those things in which you want to make sure that you do not encircle yourself in that negativity. You've started to sort of start to feel that way, that the world is going up against you, and you feel like that you feel unlovable and that you'll never find your person. But you can't let the world come down on you that way. You have to be more positive and basically say to hell to the world. I'm going to go out there and find the person that I want to be with. And it'll be hard and it'll be difficult, but I think it's just one of those things where a positive mental outlook will be your most powerful ally with regards to going forward regarding this particular situation. And the thing about it is if you are friends with this particular person, he's going to have a wedding. So you'll most likely be invited, and there will be other single people there. So the thing about it is like, you know what? Turn a negative into a positive. And who knows, you might find that special someone at this particular person's wedding, and in the end could happen to be something very, very special. So, got to keep
Yeah.
out looking that
Worst
way.
case,
Hmm.
you just bang his brother and teach him a lesson.
Well, there you go.
No, I'm just kidding with that. So, yeah, everything you said is right on. Um, she's mainly just hurt because she's still attached to him in some way,
Hmm.
and he chose someone else. You know, that's the bottom line. I think she can be happy for him, but I think that her own unhappiness has welled up because she has not found that relationship that's going to that next level. So, um, the one thing early on in what she wrote, the thing about the commitment phobic thing, where
Hmm.
he's basically saying, "Oh, yeah, I don't know if I can do commitment." People, guys or girls who proclaim that they're commitment phobic, are telling you more than just that, right? It's a pretty commonly said thing, and a lot of times, even if they seem bothered by it, like if they're saying, "Oh, I'm commitment phobic," and I'm really not happy with that. Even though they say that and may be bothered by it, it serves some other purpose for them, and that they accept the situation. But in many cases, it could just be that they're not that into you, and that's the way they get out of it. Or it could be that they want to have more casual, short-term things until they get to a place where they want to settle down, and so that's why they're commitment phobic. Or they could just be uh, the kind of person that doesn't want to have a serious, deep, committed relationship until it's with the person that they really considered to be, marriage material. And if that's not you, that sucks. If you wanted them and you thought they were marriage material, but in general, if that's the sign, if someone says you're not marriage material, or I don't see you as someone I'd marry, then that's the indication that you probably should not be with them forever. So that's kind of the information you want.
Hmm.
It sucks in the moment, but in the long term, you don't want them telling you that 5 years into the marriage or after you have your first kid or something like that. So, what I thought was interesting about the whole thing is like he's not married yet, right? It's an engagement, and as we all know, people get engaged all the time, and it means nothing, right? I did
Are you
my
suggesting my best friend's wedding? Is that what you're suggesting? She
I'm
go full Julia.
suggesting that a lot of people out there use uh, engagement, fiancé-dom, as a way of like upping their love and romance factor of their relationship. There are people that are like engaged for 5 or 6 years because the person asked them way early in the relationship, and then there was no real intention to get married. It's like pumping up the love.
Mm.
So I did a little quick search on Google, and it says 20% of engagements are called off before the wedding. I think that's probably
20%.
BS stat. 20% is very low.
Yeah.
I think a lot more people, become fianced, and then it
Fianced.
sort of dissolves because they weren't really serious about it and they just wanted to feel it. I would be
Have you
curious.
met somebody who's
What's that?
Gotten engaged and then called it off? Because
No,
I personally have not. So
not in an extreme way, but I've met plenty of people out there that have talked about that have been like, oh yeah, he asked me to marry him, huh? And then 3 weeks later, oh, we broke up. But I'm dating a new guy now. I'm really excited. And then fast forward a couple months. Oh yeah, he asked me to marry him. It's like I don't know. I think people do it. It's like love bombing.
yeah.
And it's people should be more careful. I only asked one woman in my life ever to marry me, and I married her. That's it. So do whatever you want out there, guys. But at some point, you got to be honest with yourself about what you're saying to someone else and what it means. But for our, for our Redditor here, it seems like she's just feeling down because uh, of the perceived happiness and success of others in relationships. And this is like a snapshot experience of people in this day and age on online dating and social media. And we'll talk a little bit more about social media in a bit. But even people, look at their next door neighbors and seeing what, oh, they bought a nice new car. I don't have a nice new car. It's the same situation. Someone else is getting married. I'm not getting married. My life. And I can empathize to a degree, but at the same time, just focus on yourself. Just do you, and the rest of it will come around. And like it literally does not matter what your ex boyfriend is doing after you've been married. Like after you're happy, whatever. Even if you never get married, as long as you're happy doing your want, it does not matter what this guy who you dated for however many months is doing with his life. And if it really beats you up, maybe you need to like step away from the friendship because it doesn't seem like it's healthy.
Yeah.
So, see,
Yes.
this same situation can happen to people who, up until the moment they heard about their ex, would have told you that they're very happy, and especially like in their new relationship. So there's some people that are, she's sort of single and hurting on this, but there are people that are in the next relationship and they see on Facebook their ex pop up as engaged or getting married, and they lose it.
Mm-hmm.
So, what do you think that is? Do you think that's like unresolved feelings for the ex, or is it resentment for having been the training wheels for that person, and they finally got around to being able to ready to be married, and they found some random person? Or do we honestly want our exes to fail in their future relationships, and that's them beating us somehow?
Yes. It's a
All of
combination.
these
It's
things.
it's all of those things. The answer is yes. It's a combination of all of those feelings, be it one or another, one more than another. But it's one of those things that it's a complex emotion because you are in a relationship with this particular person, intimacy with this particular person. In a span of 9 months, in Circle's day, probably told this guy a lot about herself, and you expose yourself to all of that. And he rejected her, and in turn, she rejected him by dumping him. But also, it's one of those things in which you see them immediately succeed, and you immediately, it hits your self-worth, which was something that we had just discussed in the previous topic. But you also, the jealousy, the green eyes come out because you want now what he has, and which you thought you had with him, but now you don't. So the jealousy comes out. So there's the anger and the resentment of, well, wait a minute, he's just out of the relationship and he meets somebody. The hell? What the hell's going on with that?
No, but he was out of the relationship for a year.
Yeah, yeah,
The time apart was longer than the time they were together.
yeah,
So she was really holding on to something.
yeah. Well, the thing about it is at the same time, she stayed, sort of longing for him in a way because she still had
Right.
feelings for the guy. So hence that makes everything ridiculously complicated. I think you've said in a previous show that once you're done with a girl, an ex in a way, you just feel like nope, no more. You can't just be friends with them anymore because it just complicates everything. So
Right.
so therefore, in a way, she made the situation worse for herself by sticking close to this guy, um, and then seeing the benefits of his seeing him succeed with another person, and but also to a point, this guy. You don't talk about your relationships with another woman to your ex. That's just weird. Why
But
would you do?
they may have had a close relationship where they thought where one or the other thought that they were far enough beyond. I mean, it's been a year, so like
Yeah,
I
well,
kind of
no,
get it.
yeah, you do, but at the same time, it's like she doesn't also mention whether, or he or she doesn't mention whether or not that they've dated anybody else during that time frame while they were apart. So it could be like minor dates here and there, possibly, but not necessarily anything big. That could be a
Yeah.
thing, also.
But
So,
none of it's going to matter if the bottom line is he's supposedly going to get married and she is twiddling her thumbs,
mhm.
because that's what hurts for her. And I can almost assure you that if she were engaged to be married, she would be focusing on that and not what her ex is doing.
Correct. So this is so hence why I say it's more jealousy and projection of anger, whereas she doesn't have anything for herself, and she feels like why is he getting the benefits of this and not me? That selfishness comes into play when it comes to love, and it's something that you don't necessarily can control, because everybody wants uh, that feeling of being in a relationship with another person, being loved by another person, and secure, and all that other stuff that comes along with being in a
Yeah.
relationship. So, when you don't have that, and you see somebody who that was a previous partner that could have been that particular person, all of a sudden get that, uh, these three individual emotions will vary, but will then combine into some weird uh, sort of agglomeration of these emotions that comes out as this combination of longing, depression, and anger. So,
Yeah.
like, yeah, it's a very complicated thing, and it's
Right.
not like something that you can sort of pigeonhole into one. Which is why the answer when you ask me, "Is it this? Is it this? Is this?" and I say yes, because it
Well,
is.
yes, it could
Yeah,
be any one or all of them.
all.
I don't think that she wants to be with this guy. I don't think it's him.
No,
I
you're
think
absolutely
it's,
right. I
this
think
is her internal struggle.
what she wants is the relationship. She doesn't care for the guy. I think what she cares for is what could be when in a relationship. And that's what she actually is longing for, and what she wants. I think what will happen once he gets married or whatever things like that, and she does end up finding that special someone, because you know what, you know it's going to happen. I always say, like, if you're looking for love, love will find you eventually. I think, and then she'll get over it. I think once she does find that particular someone she wants to settle down with, and I think this is just almost like a temporary thing that you absolutely don't want to make it hard for yourself by wallowing in it, but at the same time, it is completely understandable.
Yeah, and I mean, it's in time, it will be quite clear that this was not her.
Hmm.
She didn't lose a love of her life to someone else. Like this, this is just a kind of a crummy feeling, and you're sitting there thinking too much. Um, I think it would be interesting to go deeper in the subtopic here
Hmm.
about people who, it's because it's a pretty common occurrence where someone will have a relationship, and when the person gets out and has a new relationship, from the outside it looks like they learned their lesson from the first relationship, are much better now, and a lot of people are really salty about that. Like, oh, you just learned on me and then went and became perfect with the next person. There's a lot of that out there, but there's also fallacy to it. But for tonight, and in order to keep things rolling, I think we should scoot on to the next one.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh, so for our friend here, just focus on what you want and what you have, and your ex's relationships can just get lost in the wind
Yeah,
because it doesn't have anything to do with you. You know.
absolutely.
Um,
Is there a simpler way to say it? Don't be a hater, I guess. No.
hate, hate, hate,
Hate,
hate.
hate, 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 hate.
Uh, all right. So for our next and final, we are on the subreddit relationship advisor. Throw RA Nad Ted. Well, long one. This one was very popular. It got almost 14,000 upvotes. So
Yeah, this is a very
yeah,
touchy topic, I think,
yeah,
because this is something I'm dealing with at work. So take it away, because I've
yeah.
got ideas with regards to this.
All right, let's go. Uh, this is a 26-year-old female. This guy's girlfriend. Oh, sorry, no, they're two females. That's a lesbian couple. Her girlfriend, 26, and she's 24, thinks that she's an Instagram influencer and that it's driving her crazy. When I met my girlfriend 3 years ago, I knew very quickly she was addicted to Instagram. She was posting maybe 3 to 6 times every single day, and barely an hour of her day wasn't in her story. This didn't really bother me at first. I actually found it kind of hot, mainly because all the pictures of food and buildings and clothes became pictures of me. I felt, I guess, a little bit like a celebrity. And she had 6,000 plus followers back then, I think. Other than that, it's been a great and fulfilling relationship, but this addiction has been like a tree root splitting us apart. Every day is punctuated by Insta time, where I'm not supposed to distract her. She gets up at bizarre times to post and maximize engagement, which throws off her and by extension my sleeping habits. She's taking 2 hours to get ready for a 20-minute shopping trip, which is then stretched into an hour for Instagram content. It's ridiculous. We've squabbled about it before, obviously, and she brings up things about me that irritate her for the sake of balance. I'm extremely messy and frankly plain lazy. I'm trying to work on it. But recently she stunned me during an argument. It was routine stuff. I asked, well, snapped at her to put her phone down and pay her some attention, to pay me some attention. She gave me a horrible stare and said, "This is my career. If you don't like it, get out." So the thing is, it's absolutely not her career. She desperately wants it to be, but so do probably millions of other people. She's been unemployed and claiming benefits for 2 years, but I didn't realize all the time she was ignoring me for IG, she was actually trying to make some money from it. I know she made about 20 euros about 6 weeks ago for advertising some makeup startup, but that was basically for a friend of a friend. Essentially, this is draining me to death, and it's gone from being flattering to intrusive. Before you say it, yes, I'm probably going to break up with her. But the thing is, she's got a good heart, and I genuinely want to help her. Even if the relationship doesn't survive, if it does, that would obviously be a plus. Is there anything I can do to convince her to put the phone down and be a good, attentive girlfriend and actually get a job that pays our bills? So then, yeah, that's where we're starting here tonight.
Oh, there is so much to this.
Yeah.
My goodness.
You feel like I feel like you're biting at the chomp here, so I'm just going to go ahead and let you run with it.
Well, one of the aspects of what I do at work is business development, and one of the interesting markets that is happening right now is the influencer market. Now, for those online who who knows, an influencer can be really anybody. So the idea of an influencer is anybody that can change the opinion of what it is that you're trying to push into a positive direction, hence influence. Now, there are many levels to being an influencer. Um, there are the people who are quote like mega influencers, people who have millions, tens of millions of followers who uh, basically are just like on everything that they say, anything that they push becomes an instant multi-million dollar seller. Oprah Winfrey, for example, is a particular version of a mega influencer. Anything Oprah sticks her name on, millions of people are willing to buy it, especially in the United States. PewDiePie, video gamer influencer, uh, pushes something, has 100 million followers, can probably talk to more people in one tweet than a lot of people will ever talk to in their lifetimes, like 10 times over. Very, very crazy. And those are your mega influencers. What we're seeing here with 6,000 followers on IG, uh, she is a nano influencer. In that particular case, she is a very, very small uh, person who can decide to become quote an influencer. She has a following. 6,000 people is very small though in the particular world of Instagram, where even minor celebrities will have tens of thousands of people, if not hundreds of thousands of people on Instagram for their particular photos. The problem with all of this is that to be a influencer, you have to have a steady following and an income. Two of things that this particular girl does not have. She wants to be an influencer, but she is not currently. She is not in any way marketing herself. She is not basically saying, hey, I'm available for business opportunities. And in a way, I think in her mind, she feels like that she's a celebrity, but she isn't. And we've run into a lot of these researching the topic, and they live in their own little world. The op here sort of hit it right on the money that she has actually become addicted to Instagram and the belief that there's always somebody looking at your posts and thinking that you matter. It's almost even tied into self worth, where everything has to be recorded and posted, because if you don't, you could miss out on that special moment, that FOMO that people might actually have because they didn't know you were eating vanilla ice cream that one moment, or you didn't catch that cup of coffee that had the new Starbucks pineapple spice seasoning that they've put into their coffee this year, things like that. You know, and then they believe that every little thing could be a money making opportunity, but in no way any of those things are. You'll find that influencers in this particular type of market usually the ones that will show you can get more followers by showing yourself in a bikini on a beach every day than you can by daily recording your life. As we've seen, there was a young lady who we researched at work that built up a following of over 300,000 people. And all she did was take a photo of herself. She lived near the beach, and she took a photo of herself in a bikini every day on the beach in a different pose and posted it on Instagram. 300,000 followers. Yay! So, yeah, I mean, this is one of those things in which this whole thing is now affecting her personal life and her relationship to the point where it's going to end her relationship, and she needs to come to grips with reality, because in 2 years, unable to create a money stream and a following does not make you a professional Instagram influencer. What it makes you is a wannabe, and unfortunately, that's where she is. So,
Indeed,
yeah,
there's a. I mean, that's kind of cool to have such insight. You know, have it stuff you deal with it with your work to be able to
yeah.
speak on this. I think that's pretty valuable for our listeners.
The thing about it is I saw this topic that when we were going through the rundown, and I was like, "Ha! I've done 6 months work on this, trying to figure out like who should we advertise with? What is the right type of influencer? What is the thing?" And you run into the same issues. There are people who believe that they are more important because of their Instagram feed, as opposed to people who have their feed and are actually putting stuff out there because they know that they are actually creating content that people want to watch. And they know their own personal value. And those are the people that you want to work with, because those who have this delusion that they believe that anything that they can do will be able to be to push products out positively, for example, usually are not. They're usually self-important people who are a bit delusional as to their fame. And the thing about the internet is that anybody can be famous at any given point. Look at us. We're two Joe Schmoes talking about relationships on the internet.
We
You
are
know,
freaking famous.
we are famous to our friends. Absolutely. And, it could be that one of our videos blows up, gets a million views or something like that, where we talk about this stuff. But, and then all of a sudden our show blows up and then we can be famous. But to be able to be grounded in understanding where that fame comes from is very, very important. And in this particular case, uh, she believes that this Instagram account that she has is more valuable and needs and is almost even now connected to her self worth because she constantly needs to do this and justify the reason doing this as to saying that this is her career when in fact it brings in no money. It is completely harming her relationship with her girlfriend, and it is basically like making her do things that are not necessarily uh, good for her. Getting, taking 2 hours to go on a 20-minute shopping trip and then stretching out to make Instagram content is not natural. Natural Instagram content would be going out and in your fleece pants and looking like you just got out of bed, because that's what most people do when they go to the grocery store on like a Sunday. They just want to get it done and over with. And there is something to be said about influencers who try too hard, and then those who are
That's the
natural
same
too.
here on Twitch.
Hmm.
That's the same here. Go through IRL streaming, and you've got your top people who get a lot of attention, but even in those people, there's very little content. There's very little actual content.
Yeah.
It's just them responding to whatever someone types in the stream chat, or them just sitting in a chair looking, you know, looking however they look to get their attention, or being absurd, doing weird stuff to get attention. Like, it makes sense. I understand why it happens. It's just, if you are if you believe that you're famous because you have a kind of medium-sized following, and that somehow means that's your career, you might need to kind of reassess your situation. So my take, and this is the amateur take here, is that this kind of thing is a huge time investment to maintain, and of course it's going to have a negative effect on the relationship. It doesn't have to, but you'd have to really know how to juggle things.
Yeah.
And here's like the moment, right? She asks for her attention. She's annoyed, and she points to the importance of her phone and her influencer connectivity thing. She
Hmm.
calls it a career, and it's not. And that's where this all has come to a head. That's where our OP has realized that maybe the person that she's in a relationship with might not have her feet grounded. A lot of people have a hard time with reality, and just loving something doesn't mean that you'll be successful enough at it to turn into a career. Look at people in
Hmm.
sports. There are people that love a particular sport, but they don't have what it takes to get outside of high school or outside of college, or even if you do manage to get up to the pros, that doesn't mean you're going to get into stardom there. You might just be a member of the team or sitting on the bench or something. So, same thing with video games. And people are trying, oh, I want to be a gamer. Well, kid, if you want to be a gamer, you've got to be top 5% if you want to monetize it.
Top
And the
2%.
reality is, yeah, or whatever it is,
Hmm.
uh, the reality is, if you're not that, you can work towards it for a certain amount of time. But at some point, like this, our OP's girlfriend, she's unemployed and has been on welfare for 2 years. That's not paying the bills, so it's not
No,
a
it's not.
career.
Mm-mm.
And for the time investment, it's not paying off. So the best way to help her is to actually help her see the reality of the situation. And
And,
there
and
is an epidemic of false celebrity right now, where people think they're getting a lot more attention than they are online, and they are, uh, they're walking around like they're more important somehow or better somehow.
yeah.
It's not
Yeah.
the case.
And I'm gonna say there's a personal story with regards to influencers and what is a job. Basically, this boils down to she thinks what she's doing is actually a career, when in fact is essentially is just a glorified hobby. So I'm going to put myself in this particular station, and it's just going to change the story a little bit. because what we do here is form of casting, and it is our hobby. We would like this to be bigger. If we could make money off of it, that would be wonderful. But we know at this point it is still a very small show. I also cast on Twitch, and I cast esports, specifically Overwatch. Uh, I feel like I'm good at it. I've told a lot of people have told me that I am good at it, and there was a possibility for me to possibly pursue a professional career in esports, but I did not do it because I understood what I was doing was a hobby. It was not something that I do full time, but I enjoy doing. Now, it's actually interesting because I have actually been paid to cast games, and theoretically, I could call myself a semi-professional Overwatch caster because of that. But I've only been paid once, and I understand that you would have to be paid multiple times to be even called a professional in a way. On the other side of that, though, there was a friend of mine who I will came nameless, so that she will remain anonymous. But she started the same way I did, casting in the league that I casted. But she decided that she wanted more and wanted to do it professionally. And within a year's span, actually a couple years span, she is actually a 100% full-fledged professional game caster, getting flown out to events, getting paid on a regular basis for jobs, getting standard rates for jobs, and being in front of the camera doing what it is I do as I consider a hobby. That is a 100% professional game caster. And in this particular case, if the 24-year-old female who we are talking about here was a professional Instagram influencer, there would be companies at her door, like mine, willing to fly her out to do shoots for things that we will want to sell, uh, basically giving her tons of items so that she would be able to test her out in her own living environment to figure out whether or not she likes it, without any influence with regards to money. She would be getting stipend checks from companies totaling a minimum of the current micro influencer going rate for those interested in understanding how much influencers get paid, anywhere between $500 and $1,000 on a product promotion. And usually that product promotion will last about 3 months. There was a great article that was actually in Huffington Post for those who are interested. Influencers can get paid a decent amount of money, and especially even micro influencers if they are targeting a market that a professional company wants to target. The difference is that they get that money on a regular basis, and there's constant income, and there is an understanding that that particular influencer needs to reach out to businesses and even drive up more businesses. In this particular case, all she's doing is recording her day and doing nothing, nothing to get companies to come to her and say that we want you to market our products or be the face of our particular product. None of that is happening. So in no way that she's a professional. And this is one of those times I feel like not just the girlfriend, but other friends who see all of this might need to sit down with her and give her that dose of reality that you said, Tim, that she needs, because it is very, very important. So,
Right, you want to be supportive,
mm-hmm.
but you have to be realistic with people as well. And this person's an adult, so they can probably handle it better than maybe your small child could if you told them, "Yes, I understand that you want to,
Mm-hmm.
be a superstar, but you got to take steps to get there." So, and it's not to say that the person can't continue to do what they enjoy and keep working towards it. But at the point where this person's like, you need to accept that this is my career or get out, that means that they have lost contact with their reality. And, at that point, you have to consider that they need to have the hard fall
Yeah.
from their perceived grace.
Yeah.
And So then we have to ask ourselves, like, how can we be supportive of someone that we love who is chasing a dream that is highly unlikely to come to fruition, right? If
Yeah.
and at what point do we tell them that hurtful truth that it's not going to happen? And this happens all the time with people who are really into music, and
Actresses
they
too.
might be good, but yeah,
Actors and
right,
actresses too. Hmm.
that kind of thing. At some point, you have to accept that you're at where you're going to be, and it might not get better. And people always point to, oh well, what if someone had told that to J.K. Rowling or something? And like, yes, they did tell her that, and
Hmm.
she kept going, and eventually she got there. But there's no sense in everyone saying, well, look at Bill Gates, because all of you are not, none of you are Bill Gates. And maybe someone out there will be, but like, you'll get there because you have it in you to get there. And most of us, though, we're going to end up somewhere in the middle, and that's fine. We just need to figure out how to do what we need to do in the meantime. So, and also, what's fair to your partner? Uh, in some cases, you have to choose your career over your partner. Right? You don't have to. You can decide to. But in this case, it'd be a pretty bad choice to put that in front of her partner who clearly cares about her. And it's sort of selfish to drag her along and not give her any time or attention, and instead cater to a bunch of supposed followers who may not be doing more than checking in on your feed every once in a while. So I don't know, man. What would your on the way out advice be to this person?
I'm just I would actually throw it to the op here, uh, and I would say, hey, look, yeah, you are at a point where you are exasperated with what is going on in your relationship, and I don't blame you for wanting to get out. It looks like, but if you are the nice person that I think you are, wanting to help her understand her her life as an Instagram influencer might be something that she has concocted in herself to basically help her not be and not understand the situation that she is in, then um, I would say that you've tried the kindness part by being in the relationship with her and telling her that not necessarily this is the case. And she snapped at you, so I would say it's time for you to throw that dose of reality to her, and hopefully she understands the 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 grasp of the situation um, before something actually bad happens, because she's on welfare, she's not necessarily attending to herself, and she something, and it seems like you've kept her afloat, so by leaving her, it might end up putting her in a spot where she has to realize what reality she's actually living in, and and that hopefully after that, when she does, then you can help her actually truly get out of the situation that she's in. As far as I think
Sounds
that's
fair.
really the only way it goes. Honestly, yeah,
You got it.
yeah. So
Well, sir, I think that probably wraps up our third topic tonight.
yeah,
And we were, in a few different people's heads. Well, I didn't even realize this, but all of our advice tonight were for the ladies.
they were. So the men out there not posting as much, but we'll get to them too, eventually. So it'll be okay. Guys
Yeah,
can live.
no, it's fine.
Guys can live without our advice for a week.
Everyone can draw something from this, right? Relationship advice
Hey,
doesn't have to be anything you've personally dealt with or have to do with your gender.
what the
So,
thing about it is all three topics that we've discussed today can apply to both men and women. This is not universal to one sex or another. There are people, men out there, guys, who think they are Twitch maestros with followings under 100 people. There are men who believe that they only sleep with women because they do not want to reveal who they are to them. And then there are jaded men who see ex-girlfriends get married to other guys. So this is not this might be the ops in the particular topics that we've discussed today might have all been women, but I think the topics were very universal today.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, take some notes, people. Go out and try to get yourself to a better place, and you know, don't give up.
absolutely. That is the best advice that we can give is to don't give up, don't ever give up. Listen to Jim Valvano. Because you know what, honestly, relationships are something that you will have to work hard on, and it might not go your way 100% of the time. But if you stay positive and you don't give up, eventually it will work out for you. And on that note, we are going to say goodbye to you this wonderful Wednesday evening. Hopefully, we found you found our topics very interesting. As always, you can email us at twitchlinelove@gmail.com if you want to email us articles, comments, even topics that you want us to talk about on the show. You can also tweet us at Twitchline on Twitter. As always, we are also on YouTube. You can watch us there on YouTube and watch our archive of shows. Hit subscribe just to know when we're going to be live on YouTube. And you can also just go back to see any past shows that you have possibly missed. And you can listen to us on SoundCloud on the go, on your phone, on your laptop, or any mobile device that can install SoundCloud. Just search Twitchline and you will find our channel and all of our postings. And that is going to do it for tonight. Timmy, you've been a wonderful co-host as always. Thank you so much.
Yeah, man. Good times.
Yeah.
We will try to spend a little more time getting on here and sharing our ideas and trying to make the world a better place to be and love in.
Exactly, and we'll try to be a little bit more on the schedule, but we might have a bit of a disrupted schedule next week as I will be in Los Angeles for BlizzCon. Yes, I will be protesting with the Hong Kong followers there at BlizzCon. So, not really. I'm actually going because I want to go, but from what I understand, there will be massive protests outside the convention center starting on Friday. So that'll be interesting.
Get some pictures, and bring it back here, and we'll share them.
Yeah, we'll figure out what's going on, and we'll talk. We can maybe turn that into a Twitchline topic, but that's going to do us for tonight here. For Acorn, Mr. Acorn, I am Hodo. Thank you so much for joining us today, and catch us tomorrow for Freeform Thursday, where we talk about topics we weren't able to discuss today, and just things on the top of our heads. So. That is tomorrow evening, so join us again. But have a good evening, everyone, and we'll see you tomorrow.
Good night.